Right now, in an extended edition of Weather Underground, we have Winter Storm Ivy for you, unleashing some snow and some ice across the Midwest, causing extremely hazardous travel tonight.
We've got live team coverage tonight. Mike Seidel is in West Des Moines, Iowa. Reynolds Wolf is in Madison, Wisconsin. And our storm specialist, Mark Elliot, is here to discuss a dangerous, severe weather threat that's developing in the southeast a little later this week.
All right, the gang's all here, and welcome to an extended edition of Weather Underground. I'm Mike Bettis.
I'm Alex Wilson. Yeah, if you're turning on and you're going, wait, why are they still here? It's because we got a lot to talk about tonight, so we are with you for an extra hour. Winter Storm Ivy currently bringing wintry weather to the middle of the country. And then, Mike, we've got another storm hot on its heels that could bring even more problematic weather.
They are coming rapid fire. First things first, what's going on tonight? That's Iowa City, Iowa. Boy, we've had some rough weather tonight on I-80, no question about that. At one point, the visibility was down to about a tenth of a mile. Looks like it's gotten a little better here as the snow is pushing its way eastbound, but you can see some snow-packed roads as you follow in behind the big rigs tonight. All right, what's happening with Winter Storm Ivy? Some really heavy snow and a pretty good band is set up here from around the Quad Cities over towards, say, Madison and Rockford, and now north side of Chicago and edging towards, say, Racine and Milwaukee as well. Lighter snow from Fargo over toward Minneapolis. Icy weather for us tonight in northern Missouri, including around Kansas City. It's 33 right now. That temperature is good, but pavement temperatures in places have been 32 or below, so icy in spots. Very icy in St. Joseph tonight. Icy weather for us around Kirksville as well. Warm for us in Emporia, Kansas. We're 41, so we're going to be all rain. There, look at some of the pavement temperatures. Northwest side, 32 degrees on the pavement tonight, so if it's an untreated road, it's going to be icy. Maybe even some of the treated roads could be a little icy tonight. Davenport, we're sitting at 27 right now. We have the snow. It's wrapping up for us in Des Moines. Maybe a lingering flurry, but most of it's pushed east of you at this point. Chicago just now starting to get into it at about 28 degrees. Let's now head over into maybe a Fort Wayne. We've got the light snow coming down right now at about 31. I think we get a little bit of light snow in Detroit, but eventually it goes over to rain, so no accumulation is coming your way. And then you can see the snow that extends up 94 here. Head up toward maybe a Fargo, and you're 22 degrees, 16 in Duluth. Powdery, fluffy, light snow, dry snow coming down for you right now. Alex?
Well, meteorologist Mike Seidel has been spending the afternoon in West Des Moines, Iowa. Mike, you said things were getting a little bit better out there on the roads. You know, we looked at some of this video earlier today from various portions of Iowa. It was tough to see much of anything at times.
It was almost a whiteout in some of those outlying areas where you had some gusty winds. You know, we had some gusts here 20 to 25 miles an hour. And when you think about the airport reporting 3 hours of 2 inches an hour, that's pretty hefty snowfall, about 8 inches in about 5 hours. It doesn't get any better than that for you snow lovers out there. And it's powder. It was 23 degrees for most of the storm. It's now clicked up to 30. So this is the warmest it's been all day. It's not a bad evening. The snow has stopped. There's a light breeze, a very light breeze from the southeast, and 30 degrees. Roadways have been plowed. They've caught up now. A little slushy. They put down some melting, some salt. And so tomorrow when the sun comes up, things will melt off very nicely. Again, roads that have been plowed, scraped, and treated. Let me take you back first to the plows. This is a convoy of plows coming right off 35 and coming right down the hill here on Mills Civic Parkway. About 2:30 this afternoon, a convoy, 6 of them, and they were scraping what looked to be about 4 or 5 inches of snow off the highways. And then the snow just coming down fast and furious, as I mentioned, 1 to 2 inches an hour all afternoon, from late morning through about 4 o'clock during the afternoon, and it just didn't stop. So the plows were trying to keep up with it. Now they've caught up very nicely. And this is what we saw a lot of, driver assist. We're talking about cars getting stuck at these intersections because as they plow the roads until they have enough chance to do the side work, you've got these snowbanks. Now, this snowbank's not very deep. You're talking 12 to 18 inches. But when you have a car that's got front wheel or rear wheel drive, it just doesn't have the gumption to get out like a four-wheel, all-wheel drive vehicle. So we got this car out of there, but it took 4 or 5 grown men. And there were various other incidences of this right here at this intersection, and plenty of these around Iowa and now in Wisconsin. You just drive too fast, you spin out, or in this case, Reynolds, you just don't have the all-wheel drive on your vehicle. That's the way to get around tonight in Madison, Wisconsin. Reynolds, either that or snowshoes. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know. Did you bring your snowshoes with you or just your fishing pole?
Oh, Dude, I did not bring the fly rod on this trip, and I should have. I mean, again, I've got size 15 shoes, man. I mean, I've got feet like Sasquatch. Yeah, but even a guy like me would have a tough time walking through some of this stuff. Hey, I'll tell you. Let's lay out a hypothetical. Let's say you live here in Madison, and maybe you weren't paying attention to the forecast. You took a nap, say at 5 o'clock, eating some leftovers, and you woke up right now. Let's just say things look a little bit different now than they did when you started your nap, because we've got the snow that is just pouring out of the sky, or falling out of the sky, as it were. It is gorgeous to see, but not really easy to deal with if you're going out and about on the roads. Let's see, your highways, Highway 12, Highway 14, Highway 51, all in and around the Madison area. Going out to the interstate, say on 39, that's going to be a mess, I guarantee you. Crews are working as hard as they can. From the Wisconsin Department of Transportation, and certainly tip of the cap to them. What incredible men and women so dedicated to the task at hand. And they're going to have their work cut out for them. They're trying to stay ahead of the game, and I'll tell you, by tomorrow, I think by late morning, by early morning when the snow stops, it's here around 7, 8, 9 o'clock or so, they're going to be out and about, and I'll tell you, conditions should be better, I'd say, by noontime. So if you have some place to be, say around 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, got an idea. Hold off a bit. Maybe go at noon. Maybe that'll make it better for you. All right, folks. Again, in terms of your forecast, you see on the radar all that precipitation, the migration going from parts of the Corn Belt back into the Great Lakes. It is going to begin to fizzle out as we get into the early morning hours, but you'll see the brunt of it still really could be to come, Alex. Overnight, around midnight, all the way to, I'd say, 5 or 6 o'clock. Then it should begin to drop considerably. I'm thinking by 9 o'clock or so, should be done, but plenty of it around the area, plenty of it on the ground. All right,
yes.
It is beautiful, Alex. No question about that. Let's send it back to you.
It really is. And as I've said, I love the snowflakes in the background, too, lit up down the street. Absolutely lovely. Hopefully a lot of people do have the week off, so maybe you don't have to go into the office. And if that's the case, awesome, right? We've got Omaha, Nebraska, looking at you live. Also St. Cloud, Minnesota, live look. And then earlier scenes from Des Moines. This is kind of what I was talking about when I was talking to Mike Seidel. At times, really tough to see out there on the roads in Kansas City. Another spot where we had some snow-slicked roads. Let's time this out for you, though. Reynolds talking about mid-morning for that completion of snow in a place like Madison. For some areas, may even be a little bit earlier. Right now, some of that heavier snow continues across sections of eastern Iowa up into northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin. That's where it's focused here over the next few hours. Chicago, you start with the snow, switch to a rain-snow mix before ending with rain. Now, Iowa, as we get into the early morning, I think 4, 5, 6 o'clock, you're going to be done with the snow. Wisconsin, northern Illinois soon after that. Throughout the afternoon tomorrow, you can see it's generally the rain that we're watching across sections of the Ohio Valley down into the mid-south. A place like Chicago, you've got snow again out there this evening, but as we head towards the late evening and overnight, now we get that rain-snow mix taking over. Maybe a few pockets of freezing rain, but it's not going to be long-lasting enough to cause problems, because very quickly by 3, 4, 5 a.m., it's all rain almost for the entire part of northern Illinois, keeping a little bit of that wintry mix up near the state line before that rain comes to an end. So accumulations around Chicago will be on the light side, and you can see we've even been bringing them back throughout the show, tapering them off, so to speak, as the snow falls, but it's quickly replaced by rain. So even the snow that will fall here around the Chicago metro area, you can see maybe an inch. It's not going to be there in the morning because the rain will have melted it away. Again, good news if you do have to get out there on the roads tomorrow morning. They will just be wet instead of snow covered. Snowfall to come. Some of the heavier totals, as Mike mentioned, places like Grand Rapids up there in lower Michigan. Also parts of southern Wisconsin where Reynolds Wolf is. Maybe another 3 to 5 inches by the time all is said and done. And when we look at the Midwest, we've been pretty close to average when it comes to snowfall for the season in Omaha. Des Moines a little bit up. But when we look at Madison, Milwaukee, and Grand Rapids, all of these cities have been below average for the season by almost a foot in Milwaukee and by over 2 feet in Grand Rapids. So some areas have been looking to get in on that snow. Grand Rapids, you're not going to make up your deficit here, but you will get some maybe welcomed snowfall, around a ½ foot possible, 5 to 6 inches in this part of lower Michigan, Mike.
Come on, Milwaukee. I got Milwaukee on my fantasy snowfall team, Alex. So I'm pulling for Milwaukee tonight. Dallas, hello to you. No snow coming your way, but potentially some thunderstorms. We have some really complex weather coming for the Lone Star State. Part of the state gets some really heavy snow. Part of the state gets some severe weather and thunderstorms. So let's hash it out for you. What's happening in the atmosphere? Well, there's a low that's embedded within a trough. Boy, that is a deep trough. It's got a negative tilt to it here. Could produce late in the week some severe storms here. So we've got this warm sector where you see all the, I just spelled wham. I can't even spell these days. Warm sector here that brings that warm air all the way up into the Ohio Valley. Then we've got the cold air on the backside of that low that really brings in the chilly air, especially West Texas initially here. So as that disturbance moves east, then that snow begins to take over a little bit more of maybe the hill country here. So there's a look at the moisture pulled in, especially into the southeast. That's why we feel there's a pretty significant severe weather risk that comes along with that late in the week. But then the cold air brings some ice and some snow, and in some places you just had it. So you're going to get another round as we ring in the new year. Winter storm watch is in effect here in West Texas. A place like a Fort Stockton, a Pecos, and Abilene. These are all places where you could get that snow. Almost all of us tomorrow morning are in the rain, okay? Maybe a little bit of mix around Oklahoma City, but showers and thunderstorms in the morning. That lasts through the afternoon and the evening. Now we're getting that cold air spilling out on the backside of that low. Here we go with the snow. That includes Fort Stockton, I-10 and I-20 getting hit. Now, that snow goes all the way down to Mexico, by the way. And then the showers and thunderstorms continue. I-35, I-45, I-10 and I-20. Dallas to Shreveport to Little Rock to Jackson gets in on that rain, going then into Thursday morning. There's a look tomorrow at the severe weather risk area. It's possible here, San Antonio over toward Houston, Corpus toward Austin. So just watch for that with some embedded thunderstorms here. Thursday morning, let's pick it up from there. More rain across Texas, but there's that snow really coming in on the backside of our low here. Snowfall rates could be intense here. 1 to 2 inches an hour at times, eventually shifting from Abilene to Lawton to Oklahoma City, exiting up through Kansas. But a lot of us get very heavy thunderstorms as well, and a flood risk could be there as well. Let's talk about the snow, though. Wowzers, right? A good swath of 5 to 8 here, but near Fort Stockton or Midland or St. Angelo wouldn't rule out as much as a foot of snow coming down for us here. But notice that snow goes right through Wichita Falls, Oklahoma City, Enid, Wichita, and then up toward Kansas City as well. Midland, our snow begins for us tomorrow evening, likely lasts through about lunchtime on Thursday. Winds are pretty intense as well, probably a 25 to 35 mile per hour wind, so I think they'll be blowing and drifting snow. I-10 and I-20 in particular, Alex, in West Texas could be potentially shut down with those kinds of conditions.
It's going to be rough over there in West Texas. That's a lot of snow. Well, once Ivy moves out, we turn our attention to the south, our next storm system, getting energized and bringing with it that severe threat as well. We look at New Orleans, we look at Mobile, Alabama, both mild now. But Mark, as we get into New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, I know, again, these are days we kind of disconnect. Got to pay attention.
This is really unfortunate timing in that way, because even if you were going to do a first night activity, right, and say, okay, we're not doing the inside partying, but maybe we can get outside and ring in the new year, distance outside and safely. Well, suddenly we've got severe weather barreling on through. And I think this will be a nighttime event, a daytime event also, but also a nighttime event. This is not going to end just because the sun is setting. It's not that kind of setup. It's why we have such a stretched out area of red on the map for Thursday into Thursday evening from East Texas early in the day, then going all the way through to Alabama and the Florida Panhandle, potentially Georgia before Thursday night is done. It is tied to that strengthening area of low pressure. That spin in the atmosphere is so crucial here. The low levels especially will have very different wind directions because of the shape of that trough, as Mike was talking about, that negative tilt here. And so we know at the surface we're going to have winds coming up from the Gulf. And I'll draw those in. I know they're little white lines, but I'm going to draw those in yellow. Look at those lines showing you how the winds come up from the Gulf at the surface. Now let's turn the map just a little bit, and we'll go up aloft. At 5,000 feet up, these white lines are the 5,000-foot winds. Notice how we cross those lines pretty dramatically at each and every point. And then up at about 10 to even as high as 30,000 feet, because of the tilt of that trough, now we've got winds coming this way. Another turn with height. That kind of stacking is what allows our storms to get organized and eventually tap into that low-level rotation, potentially giving us tornadoes. So as we roll this forward, leaving Thursday morning in East Texas, already could be some strong storms. I think this really ramps up by mid-afternoon. At that point, we have an old boundary from some of the last night's rain, and we have the warm front up here. Both of those are going to be trigger points with different wind directions on either side of those boundaries. That will help to give you a little bit of that spin, a little bit of that built-in corkscrew. So storms near those boundaries could be supercells and could should start to rotate. And then you also have the line of storms moving through. There could be embedded circulations with that. Now we go all the way to near New Year's time, right, near midnight, and from western Alabama and eastern Mississippi, and then, stretching over to the eastern time zone, maybe by Friday morning. These too could be severe, and so Friday's severe threat continues, Alex, and we'll have to watch the Carolinas and Georgia for that threat to move east.
All right, much more ahead on Weather Underground, more on that severe risk and more on Winter Storm Ivy, bringing snow right now for Reynolds Wolf in Madison, Wisconsin.
Oh, my goodness, a lot more snow. You're right about that. It is coming as we speak, and by the time I finish this sentence, boom, a lot more has come down. We're going to go to a commercial break for a moment. Can you see the rotunda? If you look really hard, you might be able to see the silhouette a little bit more. You know what you can see? More coverage on Winter Storm Ivy coming up in just a few moments. You're watching the Weather Channel.